Hello there, and welcome to What's the Point? A question we should all be asking ourselves, and the podcast by brand architect Bill Ellis that will help you discover, clarify, and live your purpose.
Welcome back to What's the Point? And boy, we have a fun guest today that's going to give us some laughs and it's going to give us some tremendous insight into sales and success in fulfilling your purpose. And importantly, I want to talk to her about one of her many superpowers, persistence. Say hi to Lisa Wilber. Hello, Lisa.
Jazz hands.
For those of you not on YouTube, trust me, they were jazz hands.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it'll be in both formats. That's fine. I told you it'd be fun, everybody, and we're starting off early. Let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. Lisa Wilber has been an Avon representative since 1981 when she graduated from high school. She says, don't do the math. She made it her full-time gig after being laid off of a secretary job in 1987. For those of us that were around, that was a pretty significant recession. And she couldn't find another job. She earned her first 2 company-paid trips for personal sales volume. And in 1993, she started building her team and has been in the top 10 earning leaders in Avon, U.S., for more than 2 decades. That's why I want to talk about persistence. Now, here it gets better. Her team is currently number 5 in the country, with team members in every state in the union, with over 40 all-expense-paid trips under her belt. She has also been the recipient of Avon's Yellow Rose Award, which I want to find out about, and the top honor given to non-employees, Avon Woman of Enterprise Award. She's a speaker, an author, an entrepreneur, a mother, a daughter, and for those of you that care about political leanings, she is a libertarian, which is absolutely fabulous. So that's quite a bit. And so one thing I want to add that's not in the introduction that you shared with us is that your current designation is Platinum Executive Leader. And those representatives in every state, a total of approximately 3,300 members of your team.
Yes. That's in three generations. And actually, I go down 10 generations. So.
Okay. And I'm going to ask in a little bit to understand a little bit more about generations. And I definitely want to talk about the business model because, as you all know, there's some confusion there and there's some contempt prior to investigation. So today we're going to do some investigation and hopefully people who have that contempt will gain some insight. But what's really interesting to me is where you started with Avon. You started when you were on Guam. Yes.
I went over there. I got married when I was 18 because I was stupid. Sorry, yeah, I'm willing to admit that, right? Okay. But when you're young, you want to get out of the house, and my way out evidently was to get married. But I married a sailor, and he got stationed on Guam, so I quit high school and moved to Guam. And most of the other wives were doing stuff like Princess House or Trichem. They were doing home party stuff, but not as the representative. They were doing it like having parties. But I didn't see anybody doing Avon. And I had remembered the Avon lady coming to the house selling to my mother. And my first earrings were Avon. My first cologne was Sweet Honesty. So that came to mind. Well, if no one's doing it here, maybe that'd go over. So I wrote to the company from Guam and bought my kit that way. So that's how I ended up starting with Avon over there.
Okay. Now help me because you said don't do the math about your age. Trust me, I'm a good bit older than you. But I do remember back in the day, the ads were ding dong Avon calling.
Yeah.
And as I recall,
more than even that was the 70s. Yeah.
Okay. But at the time, didn't Avon representatives essentially go door to door?
Well, the 60s and the 70s, it was door to door. Even when I joined in 81, a lot of it was door to door. Now, that never was something that I was going to do. I tried and I never could make myself do it. And that's because to me, it never was worthwhile to try to force myself to do something I'm not good at or hate that badly. So I kept thinking to myself, there must be another way to do this where I don't have to go door to door, because that's torture, because I'm an introvert and that is torturing me.
Yeah.
So the way I thought about it was, if I owned a restaurant, I wouldn't be going door to door. Doesn't this really have, this is like anything else where if enough people know what I do, I'll still be able to sell a lot. And if I had a restaurant, I wouldn't be going, would you come to my restaurant tonight? Would you kind of, no, I knew that wasn't effective for them. So I just looked around, and this was from way back when I first started, to see what other businesses were doing and how I could try to do something like that to get people to know what I do. So all along, it's been more like a marketing problem for me, is how can I get enough people to know what I do so I won't have to door knock. Okay. That's what I've been doing.
That's great. And here's a point I want to take away from what you just said. And it's touched me, and hopefully it will the listeners as well. So you dropped out of high school, you married a sailor, and you ended up on Guam. And so without a complete high school education, you realized that you wanted to do something more. You realized you wanted to be in business, and you were able to do the type of assessment you just talked about, which is the pros and cons. That's pretty business savvy for an 18-year-old, I'll call it girl.
I mean, I worked since I was 12. I started trying to find something to do on Guam right away because I've always had my own money. I didn't like having somebody else have control of all the money. So it was a control issue. I mean, I picked tobacco in the tobacco fields when I was 12 and 13 to buy a 10-speed. And I worked scooping ice cream at the local restaurant. I worked at the furniture store doing bookkeeping after school. I've worked since I was 12. So to me, there was no chance that I wasn't going to work because I wanted my own money. And plus, military guys don't get that much money. I didn't marry him for his money.
Yeah. So I guess, yeah. I guess part of what the point I want to make, though, Lisa, is this. Yes, getting a college education, getting a business degree, getting an MBA, and all of that journey makes sense and helps and increases our knowledge. But for those of us, myself, don't have an MBA, and those listening who may not even have a college degree or may still be in high school, it's more being self-aware and looking around and doing your own research as much as anything, and having that drive. That's very impressive. That's very impressive. Yeah. So what was better, just out of curiosity, picking tobacco or scooping ice cream?
Oh, the tobacco thing was an experience, right? I remember we drove down, they called it the tobacco bus because it came to the middle of my little town and picked up all the high school kids in the summer. And on the way down, you taped your fingers because you had to wrap the plants with string and then break it. And you get all these blisters. So every trip down, we'd be taping our fingers and everything. And I remember it like it was yesterday, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I worked when I was a kid.
Yeah. Where do you live then?
Massachusetts. And
wow. I thought you were from New England. I wouldn't have thought tobacco.
Yeah. They had, I don't think they do now, but then I lived in Orange, which is a little town in Western Mass. And we'd go down to Hadley where all the tobacco fields were.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was a big thing. If you talk to anybody in high school where I went, we all worked at the tobacco fields.
Okay. So basically child labor. I like it.
So it was cheap too, because minimum wage is lower.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. So all of that helped shape your interest in business and helped shape your knowledge in business. So when you chose Avon, so the ding dong Avon calling had already passed for the most part and wasn't in your strength area anyway. Right. But at the time, were they still, or had they started doing the getting people to have home parties and them invite all of their friends and then kind of,
Well, that was never Avon's thing. The home party thing was never an Avon's repertoire. They're more selling individually. But when I lived on Guam, I was over there about the first 2.5 years that I sold Avon. I actually didn't, I was making up what I did all along because they didn't really have training. They didn't have the internet, none of that stuff, because it was early 80s. So where I got what to do, more or less, I think when I was a lot younger, my mother worked for a businesswoman that owned a fuel company. And she early on said to me and my brother, we had this thing at church where they were raising money. She said to me, I'm going to give you each $20, and whoever can make that 20 into the most amount of money by this fall will win the contest. We didn't even get anything. But my brother, what he did was he bought art supplies and made this toy chest and painted a picture on the front and sold it. What I did was buy stuff at the flea market and at auctions and resell it by marking it up.
Okay.
So that's how I learned about wholesale and retail.
Okay.
And I went to the flea market every weekend and sold my stuff for more than I paid for it the week before. Okay. So by the time I got into Avon, I knew that you buy stuff wholesale, you resell it retail, and the difference is your profit. So it's just a matter of finding enough people that know what you do then. To me. So I didn't have to be told you need to have parties or you need to go door to door. To me, it was always, I need to get as many people to know what I do. And luckily the brand is so well known that made it a lot easier. Yeah. So
help us all understand, Lisa, the Avon, and we'll focus on Avon obviously, but there are so many other companies that are built on network marketing, multi-level marketing, so many negative names and so much negative connotation to that. And Avon seems to stand out as a company that has a slightly different model than that, slightly different. And so what I'm going to do is give you hopefully a very quick assessment of the types of MLM that I have been made aware of. And many of them have been, you buy from me, and then you find other people to agree to be salespeople. And then whatever they sell, you get a cut. And so the focus there is on getting more people underneath you, which I think is called a downline. And the focus has not been on, this is a great product. This product has value to you. And that's where I see from the outside looking in, somewhat of the difference in Avon. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm often confused how network marketing gets a bad name, because to me, it's not much different than a sales job, or sales management position, except that I'm in a direct sales company, so I'm not an employee. So like if other companies had field sales managers and they hired salespeople, it still would be levels.
Yes.
Because I'm not different than that. I found people that wanted to do this. Some of them wanted also to be leaders. So they found people that wanted to do it. We're all responsible for training and recognition and motivating our people to sell, which would be true if I was selling copy machines or lipstick, whatever I'm selling. So to me, it's not that much different than a regular sales job where they have sales managers. So I just decided I wanted to be a leader, which would be a manager in a company that had employees. So to me, it doesn't, I don't understand why it's thought to be scammy, because if I was selling copy machines and I happened to be managing a team of salespeople, I would get a % of what they sold. And that's what happens with this.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate the clarification, and just so hopefully I can be more clear to you, I think the negative impact comes from this. I think it comes from a difference in perspective, which I alluded to just a minute ago, which is
the product versus the
opportunity. Take this opportunity, and if you get a lot of people signed up under you, you're going to make money. And it's the focus is kind of, hey, do this because it helps me. And the difference here is we've got good products that are beneficial, that people want, that are proven quality. And I agree with you 100%. That a legitimate and a professional multi-level marketing, network marketing, whatever the proper term is, you can correct me in a second. It is just a different business model. It's just, going to the store is where they buy wholesale and sell retail. And it's about selling, and it's about people getting something that they find to be of value. So that might be just the difference where, in my case, I always felt pressured,
Well, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's probably the person that you ran into, but yeah.
Exactly.
No, and it shouldn't, I guess there are going to be good and bad salespeople, no matter what. So, and some people's strategy are lead with the product or lead with the opportunity. To me, I don't even do either one of those things. I just ask questions till they reveal that to me, usually. So if I'm talking with someone, I don't like go out recruiting. Instead, I just go out meeting people. And sometimes people will say to me, "Oh, you sell Avon? How'd you get into that?" Or they'll say, "Oh, I've been looking for someone to buy from." Usually what they say tells me what I need to focus on. I don't try to decide ahead for people whether they want to buy, sell, or not doing business with me. I try not to decide for them. I try to let them tell me by what I ask. Does that make sense? That way they don't feel like you feel about it. I don't want people to feel pressured.
Yeah, so your approach is different than anyone that I've been approached with. So, for the listeners, I met Lisa through an organization called the Go-Giver Success Alliance, which is something I urge everyone to check out if you have any interest in business. And it has weekly meetings directly with Bob Berg, the co-author of the Go-Giver. And the premise of the Go-Giver is what you just described. And what Bob Berg always says, and he was a guest many, many episodes ago, is that you cannot make a sale. You can only create an environment where someone wants to make a purchase. And that's what you just described so beautifully. It's, hey, what are you interested in? What do you need? And then if it gets to, here's what I have, and it can help fill your need, bingo. Now you've done business, and it's the proverbial win-win.
Yeah. And usually I try to find ways to let them know what I do, but I don't say, I sell Avon, do you want a book? I don't say that. Usually I'll say something like, are those earrings from Avon? And I've sold Avon for almost 35 years, so I know whether they are or not usually. But this gives me a chance. If she says, no, they're not, then I'll say something like, we have some that look like that. Then she now knows I sell.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to find a way to say it where it's not confrontational. It's not expecting her to want a book or anything like that. It's just saying it offhandedly, because that usually, if they do have any interest, they say to me, "Oh, you sell, I want a book." Or they don't say anything and I know that they're not interested. So it just takes the pressure off of them, I think.
You know what I love about that is in your approach to this. Now, let me stop for a second. Do you refer to it as multi-level marketing or network marketing? What's your preference?
Network marketing.
Okay, that's what I thought. Your approach to network marketing is very simply, where can I deliver value that someone is looking for? And it's not in the least manipulative or forceful or heavy-handed. To say, are those earrings, that would be like someone from, I don't know, I'll just pick a store from Nordstrom saying, did you buy that top at Nordstrom? We sell the same type of thing, and, come in and shop with me. So it's not manipulative, it's relational.
Yeah, it's just something to talk about. And I happen to be a big fan of jewelry, and we happen to sell jewelry. So it's an easy thing to talk about with somebody.
Okay. So I'll give our listeners an example. I'm not a prime suspect for purchasing jewelry, but nor I'm not that familiar with Avon. However, when I told someone that I was going to have Lisa as my guest, they said, "Oh, Avon has a product that is so spectacular, it'll be great for your granddaughters." And I said, "Oh, really?" And it's called Skin So Soft. Is that right?
Yeah, it's one of their most famous products ever. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure it has more benefit than this, and this is probably a side benefit that just people discovered. Apparently, it's a brilliant mosquito repellent.
Right.
And my granddaughters are mosquito magnets.
Well, that's on the way to you, but I think what they're going to like the best is the towelettes. Especially if they're going to summer camp or something, because I'm telling you, I sent one of them spray bottles with my kid, and first day they sprayed it all. Where the towelettes, they can
I mentioned that example to my wife, Tara, and she laughed. And I said, now, how do you think Lisa knows Audrey? Because the one girl, the younger of the twins, would be exactly that. She'd be spraying everywhere, and it wouldn't even take all day. It would take about a half an hour.
Yeah, it was, emptied it immediately.
So where should we go next? You have a 3,300 member team, give or take, which is a tremendous amount of management on your side. I mean, that's executive level. No wonder you are called
Platinum.
a platinum executive leader. And well, let's just stay there for a minute, because I've come to understand that one of your nicknames is Captain Platinum.
Yeah. And actually, you're going to like this as a branding guy, but if something I do for fun sticks, I run with it. I'm going with it. So what happened is the company told me that I cannot put my earnings out there, which I understand that.
Yeah.
But as someone, when I worked my way up the ranks, I always wanted to know what the earnings were, because, what are you really getting? So the way I do this is I put a Bitmoji, which is a little cartoon me, on my Facebook page in a story every 2 weeks that actually has my check amount in it. But it'll say, so many bunnies ran across my yard.
Okay.
The number of bunnies is actually my check amount, right?
Okay.
So that keeps me out of trouble, but the people that really want to know what I'm getting can find out what I'm getting. But it's so funny, when I finally, the top of the pay plan is called Platinum. They came out with that like a few years ago, so I had to re-qualify. And I missed it like 2 pay periods in a row. So by the time I finally made it, I wanted to stand on my house and beat my chest. But I did find a Bitmoji with my little cartoon wearing a cape. And just for fun, I said, call me Captain Platinum, because I made it. And what's funny is it kind of stuck, and other people were doing it being funny. And then I kept going with it because they were all having such a good time with it. And now it's to the point where when I'm at an event for the company, they introduce me as Captain Platinum, which I'm afraid must drive the number 1 through 4 people crazy. But that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe so, but I'm sure they have their approach to business, which may not include that much of what I think is a fun approach. So back to your massive team of 3,300. Talk to me about that. How do you get new team members? How do you manage? How do you teach? How do you coach?
Well, of course, it's different over all these years. When I first started out was 1993 in January. There's some things that I have done consistently, because that's my superpower, over all of this time. For example, every 2 weeks we have a sales period. That's been true since 1993. So I do recognition, and I've sent out award certificates. Since January 1993, I have done that. So all of these years, they get award certificates. And one of the things that I will never compromise on, I should say never, but I've never compromised on so far, I personally sign every one of them. I don't farm that out. I don't rubber stamp it. I don't put it in the computer. I personally sign every single one of them. And I send them in the mail. It's not emailed. It's not anything. When I first started doing it, I bought a pad of award certificates at the teacher store. So they weren't fancy.
Okay.
The ones we do now are a little bit more fancy. They have little gold seals and ribbons and stuff on. But I've done that every 2 weeks since 1993. So the things I do, some stuff have built on it bigger. Some stuff is different. But I've tried every day to wake up and say, how can I get more people to know what I do? And then the second part of that is, how can I get the people I already know, that would be customers or team members, how can I touch a certain amount of them today, either by calling or texting or sending a newsletter? How can I have some kind of effect on a certain number of people every day? So to me, I have to have, like this morning, we did a Zoom call with 12 people. So that's 12 people today. And then I'm going to send cards to a bunch of people. So that's some of those people today. And then I'm going to text with some people. So I want to have some touch. Does that make sense? I want people to feel that I appreciate them today.
Well, and that helps explain very clearly to me and hopefully our listeners why you call it network marketing, because pretty much anyone that is in business realizes or comes to realize the power and the necessity of having a network. And it's not networking where it's, hi, here's my business card. What can, here's what you can do for me. That's not it. It's having a group of people that appreciate us as individuals, understand what we do, and are open to helping us when it makes sense for them to connect with others. So networking is what you're talking about doing. And that personal touch, boy, that must go a long, long way.
Well, to me, it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, I know that my check is not going to go up unless I provide more value. Mm-hmm. So for my team members, if I want to make more money, I have to provide more value. And for them, it's going to be things like recognition. They want to stay if I pay attention to them and appreciate them and do things for them that help them build a business and get what they want. So it's my obligation to provide value,
Yeah, and in the Go Giver, we talk about the 5 elements of value, which I won't get into now. But what's really keen about it to understand is not one of the 5 necessarily cost anything.
Right. It could just be listening.
Monetary. It's listening. It's paying attention. It's being attentive. It's it's all of those things. Yeah. Providing excellence. Consistency is one. So that's what you're doing. For those of you on YouTube, you may be able to catch just a glimpse of a green piece of apparel hanging off the bookshelf, and so we talked about this a little bit before I hit record. Tell us about that cape and the significance of it, and yet another nickname for you.
Yeah. So to me, it's always been important to have colleagues in the company that are not in my downline and I'm not in their downline. To me, it's like friendly competition. So we got a group together because we go on trips together, company trips, and there's a group of four of us, and we call ourselves the Formidable Four. We've done books together. Matter of fact, we all dressed up with capes. One of the 4 made us all capes, and mine says big money on it because out of the 4 of us, I earn the most money. But that we all have our little nicknames and do our thing, and I think that's so important. I know some of the people in my own company that won't interact with people unless they're in their own downline. So in other words, they won't give value because they know they're not getting anything in return. And I think that's a bad mistake because I have gotten more from the friendship of these colleagues. Mm-hmm. And we sit around and talk about business too. And believe me, when we're all working for a company incentive, I don't want to be one of the 4 that didn't get it. Yeah. So it's like a friendly competition. Yeah. I get value being with them. And I hope I provide some value for them being with me. And I think just sticking with my own team members, I'd be denying myself that value and that knowledge and that bigger perspective of the world. So I think it's important to have friends that are just colleagues, not necessarily that you're earning off of.
Oh, 100%. I couldn't agree more. So how many times when you all were in your capes did you hear, hey, look at Captain Platinum with the big money cape?
Right. The other 4 big money earners think I'm a little out there, but that's all right. I don't mind being a little out there.
So take just a second, please, and clarify for us downline, which you've mentioned a few times, which is a real common term. And I'll tell you my perception of it after you tell me what I have something in my head that equates it to a business model. So you tell us.
It's not much different than I would say a sales organization where I happen to be the leader that is at the top because there isn't somebody that recruited me. I wrote directly to the company. But I found some people, it's like the shampoo commercial. I found some people that wanted to sell Avon. Less than 20% also wanted to build a sales team of their own. So they're the leaders, and they also found people. So the ones that I found are my first generation. The leaders that found people, those are the second generation. And my team, I've been around so long that mine go down to 10 generations. Mm-hmm. I only get paid on the 3. So that 3,300 people are what I get paid on, but I actually support all 10 generations. And the reason I do that, and I know I'm not getting paid, is because at any moment, for example, it could roll up. Mm-hmm. And I've had big, massive roll-ups before. The other thing too is those are great people. And you know what I mean? I don't mind helping people, because why not? You know, I would help people anyway. So I'm happy to be of service to those other people. So, yeah, that's what, it's not really, I don't think, a lot different than any other sales organization.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. The example I had in my mind, which may be a little bit loose, is food distribution. It starts with the farmer, and the farmer sells it to a distributor at a higher price, and the distributor makes money, and the distributor sells it to someone else, a wholesaler, and they make money, and they sell it to a retailer, and they make a little money, and they sell it to the public, and they make a little money. And it's just kind of, to me, it's a very sound business model that is just perhaps a little bit out of the ordinary. And the negative comes from, every person, every industry has the bad apples, bar none. And it's those people that say, come to my house and you should sign up and sell this stuff. And the pressure ones that give it a bad name, I think. I happen to know several people who are much like yourself, Lisa, that are committed to delivering value to people and filling needs and wants, as opposed to pressuring and browbeating. I know you have a list of 10 things. People have asked you in the past, what's the one thing that gets you where you're going? And
I hate
you say one thing. Are you kidding me? It's not that easy.
No, they go, boil it all to one thing that made all the difference in the world. And of course, there's not one thing.
Yeah. So as much as you care to either touch base on all 10, top line it, deep dive, whatever you want to do, what I want to do is get from you an understanding of your principles, because I want everyone listening, and I'm stalling here so they can get a pad of paper and a pen, or I want them to understand 10 elements that have helped you be so immensely successful.
Well, I don't have a list of 10, but I'll tell you what I think would be helpful to the audience.
That's what I want. Thank you.
No matter what you're doing, whether it's selling books or pencils or lipstick, you got to treat it like a real business. So you got to look around and see what the other businesses are doing and see if you can't find a way to do that too. If you're in direct sales like me, don't let people convince you that it's little small pocket money if you don't want it to be. I didn't realize that I could make full-time money because I was listening to everybody else. Mm-hmm. Once I stopped listening to them and realized it's buying wholesale and reselling retail, why can't this be as much money as I want? Mm-hmm. Then it ended up being as much money as I wanted. So it was how I was treating it. And I did things, and I continue to do things that I see other businesses do, even though in direct sales, it's not an obvious choice. For example, I'm looking out my window. I have my minivan is wrapped with an ad, and that is unusual in direct sales. You don't see a lot of people doing that, but I don't care. It's, you know what I mean? I saw Coca-Cola doing it and I thought it was awesome. So I did it on mine. Exactly. I look and see whatever anything else is doing and see if I can't find a way to do it for my business too. So I really put in the time and the effort. I try to provide value. I try to give a good experience no matter what I'm doing. And to me, it's about getting as many people to know what I do. Because I read that early on. I don't even know who said that to me, but they said, you can be successful at anything if enough people know what you do. And I really took that to heart, because when I moved here, I live in Ware, New Hampshire. There were 15 Avon representatives in a town of 10,000. And I thought, how am I going to do this? You know what I mean? So I decided on the strategy of, I'm going to convince everybody in town that I'm the only one. So I put the signs on my car, the sign in the yard. I joined the Chamber of Commerce. I did everything I could think of. And even like my Adopt a Highway signs, I put the Avon lady. Like there's only one, and it's me. You know what I mean? I just convinced everybody that I was it. And, you know, I still believe that I can prove to you that works, because when I get mail once in a while that says, Lisa, the Avon lady. No address, no nothing. And the post office brings it to me.
Yeah.
And there's still 14 other Avon reps in this town. But if there's something that says Avon, they bring it to me. So I think all that stuff works.
Well, I think it does too. And to equate that to my corporate background from several years ago, Anheuser-Busch, I mean, our truck decal program was a very significant part of our marketing program, because people see that every single day. And certainly beer is considered very much of the choice of beer is considered an impulse. So why not put it in front of people as much as you can? What I love about what you said, though, Lisa, is that you set out to convince everyone that you were the only Avon representative in town, but you didn't do it by saying, hey, I'm the only one. And you didn't do it by saying, I'm the best one. You did it, correct me if I'm wrong, you did it by building a presence and having people start to understand, oh, she is an Avon lady, and that you just kind of, with marketing, legitimate professional marketing, overpowered the other people in a very clever way. And it wasn't vindictive. It wasn't manipulative.
No. And matter of fact, I had one of them write to the company, and they sent somebody out and said, we've had complaints about the sign on your vehicle. One of the other Avon ladies in town thinks it's unfair. And I said, she's welcome to letter hers also, but I don't see in the rules where that's not allowed. So I would absolutely be happy if she lettered hers also. But it's funny, because most people won't do those kind of things. So it makes it easy when you're willing to do those kind of things to set yourself apart. I didn't have to even mention the other representatives or compare myself to them in any way. I just tried to best me I could be, and that was enough. That makes sense?
Oh, it makes 100%. It makes total sense to me. What would be your wish for people to understand about network marketing in the big picture, if anything?
Well, to me, you don't need to be a salesman. I consider myself a salesman now, but at the beginning, that was a big thing for me, because I knew I wasn't a salesman. I didn't think I was a salesman. And really, it's not being a salesman. You're just showing people what you do. Or telling people, getting people to find out what you do. So I think when I think of a salesman, I'm thinking of a hardcore salesman like you were talking about before, like a used car salesman or a water filter salesman who's going to force me to do whatever he wants me to do.
Right.
And network marketing and being in direct sales, even if you're just selling the products only and not building a team, it's really more like you went and saw a movie and you liked it and you're telling everybody about it and they all go see the movie, except you're getting paid. So I'm buying I'm buying a face cream and I like it. So I'm naturally telling people about it, and some of them are buying it and I'm getting paid to do that. So it's more like that than it is sales. Now I do some things that are kind of salesy, like when I'm talking to someone and taking their order, I'll say, did you happen to see that hand cream that you usually buy is on sale on page 86? That's about as salesy as I get. And that's more in the service thing, in my opinion, because I know she already buys it and I want to make sure she saw the deal. But I think less salesman-y and more sharing. I'm just sharing what I like.
Well, I think what's coming to the surface here is that there are different definition of selling and salesmen, as well as different interpretations of network marketing. Because Joe Girard is, I think until recently, had been in the Guinness Book as the greatest car salesman ever, and he wasn't a browbeater. He took the same type of approach as you did, which is very simply, hey, I sell cars. I sell good cars at a good price, and I can fill your need when you want a good car at a good price. And it's kind of that simple approach, as opposed to the old, what's it going to take for me to put you in this car today?
Oh, yeah. I never wanted to be that.
So the other thing I love is that you've done a great job. And, as a branding guy, I just appreciate so much what you've done and the success that's come from it. You've been so clever and fun and consistent in building your brand. And you do a lot of fun things. And I know you have a lot of fun on Facebook. And one thing I want you to share with us a little bit about is your Monday morning madness.
Yes, that actually was spawned from my association with the other three for the Formidable Four. We each do a show, and we rotated. This was a couple years ago. We rotated. So I was Monday, Teresa was Tuesday, Scola was Thursday, and Molly was Friday. So we were doing a rotation of the show. And then they wandered off and didn't want to do that for a while. So I just kept going, and I didn't change the name of it. And I like it because I know the more people that know me and find out about me, the more business I get, even though the show is not about me, really, you know what I mean? But it helps people. They look me up after that. So I know they can Google search me after that. So it kind of is a marketing thing. But right now what I'm focusing on is having guests on there, because I know by the Go-Giver book, that if I focus on bringing value to my guests, that's what it's all about. And sure enough, it's been better than, how in the Go-Giver Success Alliance, they have the coffee meets where you're meeting 4 people at a time. I'm actually getting to know everybody by having them as a guest on my show. So I actually know them a lot better. And it's been great because there's been people I could connect with other people when I got to find out more about them. So having them on my show has been awesome. And it's free to do because a YouTube channel is free. And it is free.
So those shows are accessible through your YouTube channel, right? Which will be in the show notes, along with every other way to contact this young lady. It's going to be in the show notes. But you do it on Facebook?
I have a Facebook group that supports the show. So it's called Monday Morning Madness as a group. There's about 6,000 people in the group. I put sales tips or book recommendations, a lot of different stuff in the group. And we do live Monday, but it's also recorded and put up on YouTube. So you can watch it live in the group, or you can go to YouTube later and watch it. Yeah.
Okay. So regular listeners know that I talk a lot about my purpose principle, which very simply stated is once we are able to define, clarify, and embrace our purpose, it ignites our passion. And that's what fuels us on the way. And what has that continue is persistence. And I know that consistency and persistence are a couple of your superpowers. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, your approach or your...
You want to know what my purpose is?
Well,
I was waiting for you to ask me that because I was looking.
Well, yeah, I mean, but specifically what I was kind of asking about, yes, absolutely would love to know your purpose, because that's to me at the heart of it. But also, I know that persistence is one of your superpowers. So yeah, talk about the whole thing.
For me, I think from the beginning, now I already said that I got married and went to Guam. Well, turns out one of my things that I'm good at isn't being married. That was, I actually been married a couple times. It doesn't stick really. I have to end up releasing them to move on to another opportunity. But it's funny because what I feel like my purpose is personal responsibility. So I want to, by how I act, what I do, and the example I set, I want to prove to every single person that they can be responsible for themselves financially and emotionally, however, you know what I mean? So to me, that's been a big thing, because I see a lot of women, the older I get, the worse this is, by the way, that either they're married and they're not paying even half the bills. So then if something happens with their spouse, they suddenly have a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the older I get, the more I've seen this happen. Matter of fact, this happened to someone I know last week. The husband was out riding a motorcycle. He didn't die in the motorcycle accident. He doesn't even know how it happened. But he's now spent a few weeks in the hospital, not earning money. He could have been hurt much worse and suddenly had no money. She doesn't earn enough to pay all the bills. She would be in a big, big problem quick if something happened. And I keep seeing that happen. So I want to, I don't know, is by my example and by what I do, prove to people that man or woman, they should be prepared to support themselves 100% at any moment, because at any moment you could be asked to do that. So that's a long-winded purpose, but that's what I want to prove or do.
Well, a few things. First of all, thanks for sharing that, because I think it's brilliant advice, and I especially loved when you said it's necessary or applicable to male or female, because I think that's 100% true. And your example of the married women often being in a situation like that is very real. I'm not saying it's fair, but it's very real. But it does expand and apply to all of us to be self-reliant. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, our purpose isn't always just I'm here to,
Right.
one word, two words. Our purpose is bigger than that. Our purpose isn't always singular. We oftentimes have a multiple purpose. We have maybe a driving purpose, but it also evolves over time. So, I don't think people can necessarily go on too long about their purpose. And I think you explained it brilliantly. So I thank you for that.
And with the consistency thing is because I know I'm not the smartest. I know I'm not the cutest. I know I'm not the skinniest. I know there's a lot of things I'm not, but what I can control, I can be the most consistent. That is the one thing that I have so much control over. And that has actually been such a benefit for me in the long haul with my career, is the consistency. When I've been consistency, I've done better. I've earned more money.
Mm-hmm. And that seems very simple, but again, I'm going to expand on that just a bit, because it's a very key point, and I want my listeners to understand this. You have been able to be so consistent and successful, I think, because you are so comfortable with who you are. You're not sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm not the cutest, smart, whatever the list of things you said." You are delightfully, relationally, humorous and funny and attractive and honest and all of those things, and you're comfortable with who you are. So the more we're comfortable and consistent with just being ourselves, being authentic, that is what counts. If we start saying that, God knows I'm not the skinniest guy or the strongest guy or any of that kind of stuff, and okay, guess what? I'm never going to be. So
I think it's hard when you start earning more money in the upper tiers of any company, because like the number one guy said to me, he said, "I can't believe you don't have shoes on in this big fancy award thing." And I said, I can't believe you thought I did have them on, because I haven't worn shoes of this for 20 years. He just never noticed it before. So to me, I wasn't going to wear fancy shoes just because he expects me. I've been me all along, and he just didn't notice. So to me, I'm just going to be me. If everybody doesn't like it, well, take me as I am or watch me as I leave, because that's how that goes.
Brilliant. I absolutely love that and adore that. And thank you for sharing it. And I'm not surprised you thought I had shoes on. That's great. Yeah. Why wear the uncomfortable shoes? So what else, if anything, would you share specifically on selling or in general for Avon? Because your approach isn't hard sell. Your approach isn't the traditional browbeating kind of thing. You're on this show right now, and I would hope you'll pick up some business as a result of this. And you're going to do that, hopefully. Hopefully you do. But if you do, it's because you're just being very genuine and explaining, here's what I've got, here's how I can help. And if I can help you, get in touch.
Well, you know what's funny when you do things like this, and I've done a bunch of like magazine interviews and things like that. I always seek those out and try to get those for myself because they give me a level of credibility that almost nothing else does. For example, one of my previous cars that I had wrapped, the first car I had wrapped was a PT Cruiser. And that's because the first one I saw wrapped was a PT Cruiser. It was the Coca-Cola PT Cruiser in Las Vegas. But I wrapped my PT Cruiser, and then I found out they had a magazine about PT Cruisers. And then I read an article in there that said she was having an auction of somebody wanting to get on the cover. She was kind of making fun of people wanting to get on the cover. So she did a charity auction to get on the cover. Well, I bid a huge amount of money for me at the time, and I got myself on the cover of that magazine. They came out and did a spread about it with pictures and everything. Yeah. And the reason before I bid, I said to her, the only way I'm going to bid on this is if you let me buy as many copies as I want. So she let me buy as many copies as I want for like $2 each, I think it was. This is a while back. And I bought a couple thousand. I think I've even got a couple left even. And that's because when I went somewhere after that, even though many representatives in the company know more about the products than I do, if I said to somebody, oh, I brought you a copy of this magazine I'm on the front of, I thought you might get a kick out of it. That's all I said. They acted like I was a genius because I was on the cover of a magazine. It almost wouldn't matter if the magazine was Idiot Monthly. You know what I mean? Because that was a car magazine. It wasn't even about makeup or anything. It was me and my car on the front of a magazine. But you wouldn't believe how much business I got from that. So to me, it's just something I love doing because it gets more people to know what I do.
Well, actually, given my experience, I would believe it 100% because I know the power of brilliant marketing. So you've kind of already answered this, but my show isn't complete if I don't end up by asking you, after everything we've talked about in your life and your experience, what's the point?
What's the point? The point is that you can be somebody that starts with not much and have whatever you want if you want to work for it bad enough and are consistent over time. That would be my point. And well, you should be able to support yourself 100% at any given moment.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it's crystal clear from the conversation we've had. I very much appreciate your time. I hope this does help you gain a little more recognition and maybe a little bit more business, and maybe not as much as the cover of a magazine or you having your car wrapped. But I'm sure that this will touch some people. And what I especially am grateful for is how much you shared your experience on achieving success and being authentic as the cornerstone of doing that. So Lisa Wilber, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. I told everyone we'd have fun, and I don't know if they have, but I sure have. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you like what you heard, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. We can promise you'll gain value in every one. Rating and reviewing makes us more discoverable and helps others find out what's the point. And if you'd like to know more about Bill Ellis or contact him, please visit his website, www.brandingpillars.com. See you next time.